well. But today I'm going to make for you guys a super easy turkey taco bowl. So this is a great one if you like to do meal prep, or if you're just making it like today, I'm just gonna make it enough for a couple people. So you can make it really either way. I'll talk kind of through those steps as we get going. If you do have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat box, and Brittany along the way, just let me know if there's any questions that pop up and I will try to answer them to the best of my ability. Okay, so a few things before we get started. I'm just going to kind of go through all the ingredients that I have here, and I'm making sure that I have everything. But the first thing is my lean turkey. Okay, so what I like to buy, if you guys can see this, it's 93% lean, 7% fat. The reason I buy this version rather than like the 85%, it's just cutting back on that saturated fat. Remember, that's really important for keeping heart health. So cutting back on that saturated fat as much as possible. You could also use ground beef if you're someone who loves ground beef with your tacos. That's completely fine too. You just want to aim for the 90% ground beef if you're going to buy that. So we'll get started with that here in a minute. Couple other things. There is rice included in this recipe. I personally, and mostly because I'm only cooking for myself and one other person, I like to buy these little 90-second pouches. They are a little bit more expensive though. So if you're on a budget wanting to cook for a larger group of people, I would definitely recommend buying like the bigger bag of rice, cooking it. That way you got a big old batch for the week. But this is just a personal preference. This is great because it only takes 90 seconds. So I like to do that because I'm also not trying to spend a ton of time on dinners in the evenings. Couple other things too, we'll get started with these, but I did go ahead and pre-chop a couple of things that we're gonna make with the salsa. So I've got just some tomatoes and red onions in here. We'll talk about that more here in a minute. There is corn involved in this recipe as well. So I buy canned corn. It's easy, it lasts forever. Well, not forever, but it lasts a long time, right? And I don't use corn that often. Canned is a great choice. If you're someone who is in the same boat, your family doesn't eat that often, just always look for the ones if you're buying vegetables, no added salt, reduced salt. If you do buy the regular version, you can give it a good rinse in the sink before you eat it. That's gonna get rid of some of that added salt. So this is a great option. And then I do have some cheese as well. I always like to buy the reduced fat version. This is just a Mexican blend. Any version is fine. This one's not reduced fat, but I typically buy the reduced fat version. Okay, so I think that's everything that we need. We're also going to make a homemade taco seasoning today. That's just a personal preference. You can also buy the one that's in the little pouches. Definitely look for the lower sodium versions of those. This definitely has some salt in it that we'll make today, but it's just kind of nice because you get to control how much is in there. All right, so we're gonna get started, and the first thing we're gonna do is I'm actually gonna go ahead and get my rice going in the microwave. So that's the other really great thing, is it's super easy. With these pouches, you just have to give them a good squeeze. Make sure you break it up a little bit. You're just gonna tear the side of it, and I'm gonna pop that in the microwave really quick so it's good to go. Okay. Perfect. So while that's going, I'm going to get our ground turkey cooking. So I'm going to move you guys really quick, actually. So come with me over to my stove. And we're going to cook the ground beef. Or ground turkey, excuse me. All right. Hopefully you guys can see this. Yeah, there we go. All right. I'm sure you guys all know how to cook your ground beef or your ground turkey. Either way, ground meat in general. Right, I'm gonna pop that in there and get that going. Turn it on medium. Again, we're just gonna get that cooking, and while this is cooking, we're actually going to go ahead and make the seasoning, the homemade taco seasoning. That's gonna go on top of this ground turkey to make sure it has some of that good taco flavoring. So while that heats up and gets going, let's actually move you guys back. We're doing a lot of moving today, back and forth, because my kitchen spaces are not big enough. All right, so I'm going to turn you guys a little bit lower so you kind of see what I'm doing with the homemade taco seasoning. So again, you don't have to make it homemade. It's pretty easy to do, but if you are someone who's like, I'd rather just buy the version that's already pre-made, that's completely fine as well. So either way totally works. So I have all of my ingredients right here, and as you can see, there are quite a few that we're going to add to our taco seasoning. I'll kind of walk us through step by step what each one is. So the first one I have is a ground cumin. That's going to be the first one we're adding in, and we're going to do 1.5 teaspoons of this. right, I'm just adding it right here into my little cup. I'm definitely someone who I measure things out, but not exact. So if you're like, that looks like more than 1.5 teaspoons, it probably is. So we're also going to add a tablespoon of chili powder. To put 3 teaspoons in here. You could leave the chili powder out if you're someone or people in your family maybe don't like a bunch of chili powder. I'm actually only going to do a couple teaspoons because I am not huge on spicy food. So definitely use that or adjust as needed according to your family. This recipe calls for sea salt. I just have basic iodized salt, which is completely fine too. It's iodized sea salt, so I guess that works for both ways. We're just going to add a teaspoon of this. And it sounds like the meat back there is cooking, so we'll go check on that here in just a second. I have some black pepper. So we're going to add some black pepper as well. This is restaurant style, so it's a little bit chunkier than you may see it regularly. We're going to add some paprika. So honestly, this is adding all of those, like when you buy a taco seasoning packet, this is basically what's usually included in it. So that's kind of what we're doing. We're going to do a 1/2 teaspoon of that. That was a little bit bigger than a 1/2 teaspoon, but that's okay. That's one of the best parts about cooking. Just a little extra here and there. Next is garlic powder. So we're going to do a 1/4 teaspoon of that. And then let's see what else we got. Onion powder's next. Same thing, a 1/4 teaspoon here. So I have this onion powder. Honestly, when it comes to spices and herbs too at the store, I don't notice a huge difference in the brand. So typically I just get whichever one is cheapest or on sale. And definitely looking at the unit price too to make sure you're getting the best deal. So this recipe too calls for red pepper flakes. As I mentioned, I'm not a huge spicy fan. So we're going to skip that today. I'm just going to go straight to the oregano. We're going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of oregano as well. Okay, so that is all of those. We're going to make sure that we just give this a good shake. Make sure it gets all mixed up. And if you look at it, it actually looks really similar to like one of the packages. It's going to be a little chunkier because it's got some of the oregano in it, but it looks very, very similar to like what you would buy at the store. So we're going to hang on to this and we're going to take it back over here with us as we check on our meat. And we will add that and a little bit of water to that as well. So y'all hang with me again. We're going to fly on over here to the stove. I've seen a lot of people that do these cooking demos that have like different cameras that they switch back and forth to, and I feel like I might need to invest in that. So, okay, so we are back over here to our meat. And it looks like it's getting going. So this recipe also calls for adding just a little bit of water to it. I'm going to let this cook just a hair more before we add that in. But while this cooks, are there any questions about nutrition related or the recipe itself? Any questions that I can answer at this point?
I just wanted to say I never thought about putting ground cumin in my taco seasoning. So that's a great idea. I think I'm going to try that next time.
Absolutely. I use it a lot in most of like the Mexican based recipes that I cook, and it's so delicious. I actually add cumin to like a Greek burger as well. It just adds a really nice flavor, but that's awesome. Yeah.
Lizzie, are you cooking for real at 8:30 in the morning there in Colorado?
Yes, it's 9:30. But you know, this is awesome for me because what it's doing is making it so later tonight I don't have to cook dinner for my fiance. So all I'll have to do is heat everything up, and then that means I don't have to cook tonight, which is awesome. I mean, you guys know if you cook, it's always nice when you can have like more of a break, not having to cook. So this is just prepping me for later, which is perfect.
Yeah, I was just sitting here thinking, oh yeah, she's in Colorado. This is like super early in the morning for her.
It is. It's definitely breakfast time, which is, it does feel a little weird making tacos, but you know, there's never a bad time for tacos. So, you know, it's fine.
True.
Okay, so this is getting closer to being done. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to sprinkle this over top. Super easy. And again, this is quite a bit of seasoning, but we want that nice flavor in there, of course. That's like one of the best parts, I feel like, of Mexican cuisine. And then I'm going to add a little bit of water too. It calls for 2/3 cup. I'm just going to fill this up just a little bit to get some of that water in there. Really what it's doing is it's creating, I'm not going to add quite as much as 2/3 cup, but what it's doing is creating kind of that nice sauce that we like, the flavors that we like when we go to Mexican restaurants. So this is maybe not going to taste exactly the same, but pretty close, right? It's going to give us kind of that taste of like ordering out or ordering Mexican food. So this is going to get going. I'm going to let it kind of mix it all in, make sure the seasoning is all mixed. Turn my camera a little bit so you guys can see it. And I wish that you guys could like smell through the computer because it smells really good. It smells nice and spicy, and you can definitely smell all those different herbs and spices that we just added in there. Oregano is another one that I don't always think about when adding to like Mexican dishes, but it does bring a really nice flavor to it. So that's another one on top of cumin that you may not think about adding, but it is a nice one to add too. Typically we think of that one more as in like Italian dishes, but okay. So I'm going to turn this down a little bit low and just kind of let it simmer while we go prepare the salsa that's with this. Turn that down a little bit. Okay, you guys come fly with me back over here and let's go make the salsa. Okay, all right. So like I mentioned before, I already kind of pre-cut some of my tomatoes and onion, but I am going to add a little bit more because I just did a little bit. Basically, all I'm adding here is just grape tomatoes. I'm going to wash a couple and we'll cut them. And then I did already kind of pre-cut a red onion as well, which we will add in here too. Those onions are very strong smell. Now that I opened that container, they've been sitting overnight, so they are nice and strong for us. Okay, where's my knife? Where'd you go? Oh, it disappeared. Let me grab another one. Okay, here we go. Let me turn you down. You guys probably know how to cut a tomato, right? But typically what I do with this is I just cut it in half, and then I cut it again just in fourths, just because I like my pieces a little bit smaller, but you know, you can even just cut them in half and leave them that way too, kind of whatever you want to do. Any other questions while I'm chopping some tomatoes? Okay. And so you can see here, I've already cut up, there's the giant piece of onion still in here, but I've already cut up a bunch of them too. So I'm just gonna scoop out some of these and add them to our container right here of salsa. Okay, perfect. And then the last couple things for this salsa is just adding a half of a lime. So I have one right here that I've already washed. Definitely make sure you're washing these. Always important to wash your produce. And so I'm just going to cut this right in half. This knife is a little small, but you know, making it work. And then you're just going to take this and squeeze it so it just gives it that nice flavor. You can also use the ones that like the lemon and the lime that come in the little like plastic containers that you see at the grocery store. That's completely fine too. Just keep in mind you may want to cut back on how much you're using. That's way more concentrated than like a fresh lemon or lime. So just keep that in mind. It may taste a little bit different, but I've used those before too, and I've been in a pinch and they've been fine. Okay, so I squeeze that out into there. And now we're just gonna add a little bit of salt and pepper, and I'm gonna mix this all together, and that's gonna be our salsa. I told y'all before, I don't always measure things, so just give it a tiny sprinkle. If you do want to measure it, you can absolutely do that. I'm pretty sure it calls for just like a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, so definitely feel free to do that. So same with my pepper. I like a good amount of pepper on there. And then let's just mix this all together. So pretty, so colorful. Tomatoes are also seasonal right now, so it's a great opportunity to use if you have like a garden, or let's say you go to the farmer's market or the grocery store. I buy mine from the grocery store, but either way, this is a great season to use these. They're nice and fresh and crisp right now. One of my least favorite things is when I bite into a tomato and it's like soggy. I don't know if you've had that experience, but I do not like that. Okay, so this is ready to go. So we're gonna hold on to this. We're gonna assemble it here in just a minute once our ground turkey and everything is cooked. And this is really how easy this recipe is. So now that actually we have this ready to go, we're gonna put this over here. Let me move some of my stuff out of my way so I get a little more space. So we have our salsa right here. I'm going to bring over the ground meat, and then really we're just going to assemble. And that's really how easy it is. If you were cooking the rice, it's of course going to take a little bit longer. Rice usually takes about 30 minutes to cook. So unless you've already pre-cooked that and you have like a whole batch of it, but that's a great way to do it too. Let me open my corn. And then we're just going to assemble everything. And I'll show you kind of what I like to do in my containers when I assemble them. All right, I'm just draining out my corn. And again, if you have the regular version that's not like low sodium, just give it a good rinse in the sink. You can give it a rinse anyways, regardless, even if it's not low sodium, but definitely give it a good rinse to get some of that sodium off. Okay, let's bring our meat over. This looks great. Remember to turn my stove off. Sometimes I'm guilty of leaving my stove on. Don't judge me. Okay, so what I like to do is get containers like this. Mine's glass. You can use plastic. They also have ones that have like different sections where you can put your meat and all of those different things in it. So kind of whatever you like to do, but I like to use the glass ones. To get my rice. All right, so now that we have everything, if you guys can kind of see this, let me turn my screen down just a little bit. So we have our rice, a grain, complex carbohydrate. We have our vegetables and our tomatoes and our red onions. You could also add like peppers and onions. That would be awesome as well if you want to. So that's just adding more vegetables. That's great. We have a great source of fiber in our corn. It's a carbohydrate as well. And then we have our ground turkey over here with our yummy seasoning. So really just to put all this together, typically what I like to do is make like rows, kind of section out all of my different things to make sure I have a little bit of each to kind of make a healthy plate, right? That's our goal, is to have a little bit of everything. So lean protein right here. Do make sure you're getting some kind of source of protein at your meals. Remember, that's what makes you feel nice and full and satisfied, so you're not feeling hungry immediately after meals. There is nothing worse than like eating lunch and then being like, but now I'm hungry again. So this will help with that. So you can see I can put a good portion of that in there. So we have our lean protein. I'm going to put my vegetables next. And I'm going to actually put my vegetables over on the other side only because they're cold and the turkey's hot. It doesn't technically matter, but just that's a personal preference. So I've got those there. I'm going to put my corn next to it. You could heat your corn up too if you like your corn warm. To me, it doesn't really matter, but that's a personal preference again. All right, I've got my corn, and then last thing is my rice. And I'm going to put that right in the middle. It's nice and hot, so it kind of goes right next to the turkey. There we go. Serving size of rice is a half cup, but again, everybody's preference or everybody's needs are totally different. So, you know, mine's going to look maybe a little bit different than yours, and that's totally fine. Last thing on here is you could definitely serve, like if you were packing this for lunch the next day, you could add a little bit of lime as extra over to the side by the cooler things. Anyway, you could squirt it on top. And then what I would do with the cheese, if you're not going to immediately eat it, is put it in like a smaller separate container, plop that right on top. That way you have cheese for when you heat it up the next day. Throw the lid on, and it's as easy as that. You got your lunch ready to go. Again, I didn't make enough for like the whole week, but if you are doing more like meal prepping, you can make a bunch of these type of containers, stack them up, throw them in your fridge, and you're ready to go. Any questions about anything?
It looks great.
Yeah, there you go. Here's the final. Ooh, things are sliding. Yeah, nice and easy. There's tons of recipes like this too. This one's just this like one of the simplest, right? And who doesn't like tacos? But I just made one last night too that was like a noodle bowl, and it was almost as easy as this. So lots and lots of different ways that you can make super simple like lunches, dinners. You could use them as lunch and dinner depending on how much you make. So yeah, that's it.
That looks really good. Thanks for showing us.
Of course.
Yeah, thanks, Lizzie.
Of course.
I'm going to share my screen. And we'll talk a little bit about the nutrition challenge that's coming up if nobody has any questions for Lizzie. All right. So for those of you who check the emails, you may have seen some information about this 2-week Madness Nutrition Challenge coming up. Registration is open today. So you can go on to your MyWell site portals, or if you have the app, the MyWell app, and you can go ahead and register. It starts Monday, July 11th. It's going to end Sunday, July 24th. And again, you'll need to go into your MyWell app or the MyWell site portal. You'll need to visit www.mywellsite.com/CHP/Yancey. It is open to anybody who is in the wellness program currently. Sorry if you guys can hear these crazy Austell Rent folks, but again, registration is open, so feel free to start today. We've got a couple screenshots to show you what it looks like on your side of the portal. You can join either by clicking in your news feed, the 2-week Madness Challenge, or you can click on the activities icon on your homepage. It's in the far right upper area of your homepage. It looks like a little guy running. And then you'll just click on activities and click on the challenge image to join. Once you're in the challenge and it starts again, July 11th, you can choose your day that you want to track your activity. You'll drag and drop the tracker that you wish to. So it's got like an apple. I think it's got like a fish for protein. There's 4 different categories. So if you're wanting to add your points for that specific fruit or food, you'll need to click it, drag it to the hat, and drop it in. There's also a chat box that you can keep up with your fellow challenge participants. Sorry if you guys hear that noise. There will also be a leaderboard so you can check how you are stacking up with your competition. There it is, fruits and vegetables, protein foods, dairy, and grains. So you can track all of these. It gives you the maximum point values. So 1,000 for fruits and veggies, 600 for protein, 300 for dairy, 600 for grains. If you need to check on your serving sizes, there are some blue links there. It says click here that you can check out how much of those specific food groups you're eating. And again, there's a leaderboard. So we've got a sample person there popped up on the leaderboard. You'll be able to track where you're at. The only thing about the challenge is, yes, you'll actually have to go into your Well site portal or the MyWell app. The MyWell app is super easy. You don't have to remember your username or password. So if you don't have the MyWell app yet, I highly suggest go ahead and download that and go ahead and get that on your phones. The last day to log your points is Wednesday, July 27th. So you'll need to make sure you've tracked for all the days of the challenge. And again, it's just for 2 weeks. Easy breezy. If you earn at least 100 points, you'll be entered into a raffle for one of 3 $25 Tango gift cards. Tango is an online gift card catalog that you get to choose your own gift card. So does anybody have any questions for Lizzie or for me for the nutrition challenge?
Hey, Brittany, this is Chris Dottel.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, I just wanted to say for everybody that's on this call, I'll be shooting out. They put together a great how to download the app video. It's about 4 minutes, I think, or a little less. So it's really, it's great. And it also shows you how you can access your health information, even historically from years past. So encourage you to look for that release here shortly on our YouTube channel and via email, and then take advantage of that and sign up for this new challenge while you're there. And just a quick question, Brittany, if they were able to download the app today or tomorrow, would they see that challenge yet?
Yes, it is live right now on your portal.
But the challenge will start on the 11th.
Correct.
Which is Saturday. Is that? Oh, nope. That's Monday. Great. Monday the 11th after the holiday week.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
All right.
All right. If nobody else has anything, I'll dismiss us and let us go. Thank you so much, Lizzie, for demoing a healthy turkey taco bowl.
Yeah, of course. Everybody have a great day.
You too.